Mm-hmm.
So, hi, welcome everybody to It's About Time. The stream was definitely muted the entire time. Thank you, Fossil. So,
It's fine.
our topic list is alpha release builds, future ideas, sneak peeks, and lore. Talking order be for Carve, and then Oxygen, and then myself. They are my co-hosts for this week's stream, and then I have Mike on the call as well. I feel like fucking, dear God, I just burned like roughly about 5 to 10 minutes of just us talking to each other essentially. Try to save all your questions are open floor. I will answer what I can when we get to it. So alpha release. We're just going to go back to exactly what you just said, pretty much. Carv, if you want to repeat everything that you just said.
Yeah, it's fine. So yeah, I was expecting there to be a lot more crashes than there eventually ended up being, or like completely game-breaking bugs, minus the on the like the few of the setting options, and the camera, like the dev camera or something like that, which I got baited into. But yeah, it went definitely smoother than I was expecting.
All right. Oxygen.
Yeah, very functional. Big bugs have been fixed really quickly. I guess the game is getting first good impressions from people that are around. Other than that, I think the big test is going to be multiplayer. That's where we're going to see how really stable things are. But other than that, I really can't complain about how the alpha has been so far.
And Mike, do you have any comments?
Yeah. I mean, there was we had our one big hiccup right at the start, and since then it's been really great. We've gotten lots of great feedback from everyone, and managed to get some pretty fast iterations on things like the getting launcher improvements and lots of patches. I mean, we're already 3 patches deep. I know there's another one coming down the line, and yeah, it's been fast and furious, but we're really happy with how it's going so far.
Good. My notes. I mean, I pretty much hopped on as soon as I could. I did make Mitch pretty upset with my stream. I know that I was breaking a lot of things and dribbling as fast as I can, and then some hot fixes came out. That was pretty enjoyable. Overall, I think it's a pretty good launch. Launcher really helps instead of having to download. For our demo, you had to download had like 7 or 8 downloads total. You just had to like keep re-downloading the game over and over again. The launcher definitely helps put out patches, content. I think. I know the launcher is going to change eventually once we get further down. I believe that'd be nice.
The launcher is going to incorporate a lot of the things that are in the actual Unity launcher as well. It's already there where you pick like what screen it's going to show on, full screen, what resolution. It's going to incorporate a lot of those things as well, and sort of combine them into one thing eventually.
All I want is windowless board, borderless window.
Yes. Yeah, we know that's a really big request, and we are working on it. I promise.
So Luke sent me a screenshot probably about a month and a half ago, saying that it would be available. Lied to me. Happy with.
You can't trust him.
Nope. Other than that, I know. I mean, I've pretty much begged for multiplayer since we even started these community streams, Oxygen. So I definitely know how you feel.
Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for multiplayer. I think it's going to be pretty. Arena and multiplayer is going to be pretty different if we go that route. I know that you could essentially just. I like the mob scaling would probably be different. I think like player kind of like Diablo feel, even PoE. I guess. But pretty interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Mobs are going to get harder with multiplayer. So multiplayer is a really big thing. It's arguably the most important aspect of our game, and we're going to do it right. We've gone through a couple multiplayer systems that haven't been right, so we've scrapped them and started over with it. And we're really making sure that the multiplayer is done right, and that's a big focus for us. And we're not going to unveil it until it's ready. And I know that's like such a terrible thing as far as like when is it going to be ready? We don't know when it's going to be ready, but we're not going to show it off until it is.
If I may, or Carv, you want to go first?
I just wanted to know what are the things that you scrapped out.
Like backend systems, how the game communicates with the servers, which servers we're using, things like that. Like we started down a path where like this is gonna be great, it's gonna be working. This is not gonna work. We're gonna have some major problem with it where like some form of matchmaking wouldn't exist, or some feature that we're like, we have to have this, it just wouldn't be possible with this system, and we're like, we're not gonna compromise the quality of it just to get it out faster.
Yeah. Maybe I don't know if you can talk really about specifics, but you said we're going to do multiplayer, right? I'm thinking more about the balance aspect. How do you think you can make multiplayer, I guess, appealing or very challenging? So, with the arena, an example might be: do you plan to spawn harder monsters? Do you plan to spawn more monsters, more bosses, new mechanics, things like that?
Yes to all of the above. Like, that's the thing. There's so many different things you can do to make the game harder. One thing that personally I don't like in making things harder is strictly just making things hit harder. So
Mhm.
like, okay, you have two people in the world. Suddenly this skeleton attacks you for 100 damage instead of 50 damage. Throwing off your defense like that makes it so you have to build your character differently to be in multiplayer.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's a good experience, but because you want your character to be able to function in single player and multiplayer and still be fun in both circumstances. So scaling the types of abilities people or enemies get, so maybe they'll have more crowd control effects, or they'll have more AoE effects or something like that, like bosses getting new abilities and things like that. But it wouldn't be just strictly, oh, this fireball that the boss throws out does triple damage because there's 3 people in here now. Because
Yeah.
suddenly that gets into one-shotting territories, and hardcore is not fun anymore, and yada yada
Mhm.
yada.
That's actually a lesson you took from Diablo 3, if I'm not mistaken. Because at first, back in Inferno and all, the more players you'd have, the more damage monsters would deal,
Yeah,
and you just couldn't play your character anymore, right? Because you get
yes,
hit once and then you die, and then someone else gets hit and then he die.
yeah.
So yeah,
I'm excited.
good insight.
I'm excited too. I don't know, but if you notice, there are in the initial alpha or like the Kickstarter demo trailer that we first put out for Kickstarter, there's actually a section at the start of it. There's like a 17 second section at the start of it of us playing multiplayer together in the first multiplayer system we actually put together. Actually, that was the second one we put together.
That was LAN, right? That wasn't
No,
even.
that was online.
Okay.
That was someone in Australia, someone in the States, and someone in Canada.
Mm,
Oh God.
go
Yeah.
Canada.
I couldn't imagine the ping for that one.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't that bad really, because like it was all a direct connection. So
Yeah, it's not. I believe it's server based, correct? Like you guys are going to host the main server while we connect to that. And
yeah,
not
so there will be this is the thing, like that's one of the things that was in one of the systems that we scrapped. It was peer to peer, and we're really trying to make sure that it is completely server authoritative. So the servers are making sure there may be peer to peer elements, and we may set up peer to peer systems for people who want to use it that way. I'm not confirming specifics about that right now. I'm sorry, because I don't know exactly what it is. And I don't want to be like, this is how it is, and we just get it wrong.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But the goal is to have it be the servers controlling everything. You're asking the server for permission to do things. I know Path of Exile uses a system where the computers predict what's going to happen, and then
Predictive.
yeah, and then you check to make sure it's okay, and if it isn't, it rolls it back. We're looking at stuff like that as well, because we really want it to be fast and responsive, because that's important in a game like this.
Exactly. Yeah. That could mean life or death for characters, etc.
Yeah.
All right. So builds. I'm trying to keep this decent. Builds. I know, Carve. You're doing your weird totem bear thing. I know Oxygen has done a static orb LA Nova, right?
Yeah, essentially.
I've done a few glitch jelly build, or I don't. I've seen. I've popped into a few streams where people have done night, but They always think that Knight's overpowered, but they haven't tried any other class. I think Knight's on the
Mhm.
lower end as far as I'm.
Yeah, I agree.
But Carve, let us know about your build.
Oh, I mean, well, that's a big surprise for me that like totems are considered minions. So obviously, I was like, well, okay, how can I get can I get meat shields and then just do all the damage with my totems? So basically, all of my stats for my minions, like the wolves, bear, and the spriggan, are just survivability, and then I just stack as much minion damage and as much totems as I can, and I'm surprised how well they survive, despite the fact that I'm pretty sure that the big slam or whatever that looks kind of like thunder from the void guys, that's like void damage, I would assume, and it's really hard to actually get. I don't think if there's a way to even get void protection for your minions with the Beastmaster / Shaman right now. So that's like the only thing that really does any damage to my minions. And then it's just me standing in the middle and putting my totems on. I don't know how good that will be in actual game, because it's most likely not gonna be like an arena where you stand in the middle because mana costs are horrible.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's doing pretty well. It's just basically just decimating everything until like wave 100 or something like that. There has to be like some kind of scaling for this, like the tankiness of monsters, I think, because after that they actually survive a bit. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's been fun on that build for sure.
I've played that build on the pre-alpha, so I assume it was quite similar. And totems actually had, well, the pre-alpha lets you switch game difficulty on the fly, right? And I found that when you go from like veteran to the highest difficulty, totems would actually start dying really fast, and because of their mana costs, it was really hard to maintain them and maintain 7 or 8 of them. Is it 7 or 8 the maximum we can have?
It's 7 for the thorns. Then I have
Right. Yeah.
the frenzy totem, and
Yeah.
for the
yeah.
sake of just having, I also have the storm totem because
Mhm.
there's one passive that is
Yeah, it increases per totem.
yeah, the protective circle or whatever that gives you
Mhm.
basically all protections per totem. And when you
Yeah.
like look how much protection you get per totem, it's just like crazy. One point is like 30
Yeah.
at one, and then when you put 50, and then I'm like talking about 450.
Yeah. Maybe you should
Uh,
use a frenzy totem instead of storm. That would
Oh, I
increase
have
your.
both. I have
Okay.
both.
Okay. Yeah.
I just love everything. Like I don't have any of my minions in my action bar, so I'm
Yeah.
just
You
like
swap
hoping
them
that they
out.
don't die. Yeah, so I'm just like
Yeah.
spamming healing wind as much as I can, and the spree just
Yeah.
hopefully doesn't die. That's like the only one who really dies,
Mhm.
even after putting everything into survivability. But that
Yeah.
might be just because of the end game scaling. Like I'm closing like level 90, so the healing wind and the Spriggan's healing aura don't seem to do that much anymore to my minions.
It doesn't
Yeah.
scale very well.
It's not even that it doesn't scale very well, it's that we don't know how much healing it provides, and that's probably one of my biggest complaints with the game right now, is how little information we have about skills. We can only, obviously we can try them out, but I think that Carve and I actually have the same problem where our damage numbers don't show.
Yeah.
So that's making, I like testing stuff. I like trying a lot of builds, and I think Carve does too. And it makes testing a little difficult to not have tooltips that tell you, okay, this does this much damage, this does this much healing, and we can't even go out on the dummies and try them. So this is
Yeah. Back to the numbers. I know for a fact that the healing wind has at least some sort of percentage healing,
Mhm.
because have the Spriggan's aura.
Yeah.
When you open your character stats, when I have healing wind on without my Spriggan's aura, it like gives like slightly or over double.
Mhm.
But when I do have the Spriggan's aura, then it gives even more. So there has to be
Oh.
like some kind of percentage scaling too.
Or maybe it's region based, so when you increase that by percent, you're getting more out of it, because it's Spriggan. That's what it does, right?
But it's
percent.
definitely not purely flat. That's
Yeah.
that's like not for sure.
Mhm. Interesting. But yeah, lacking information. And this build that you're doing is interesting because you can build it around either poison stacking or physical damage stacking. Yeah,
Yeah, I'm just pure
Pure
physical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think the armor shreds from the totem actually stacks? That's something else we don't really know.
That's just actually like I was thinking like why would you ever put 7 points into it? I mean it makes it like
Yeah.
100% chance to actually
Mhm.
like get the shred. But if you have like a gazillion totems, if it doesn't stack, 1 point is always
Yeah.
going to be enough. But if it does stack, well then it's
Then you want to
then
get a lot so that you're
and then it-
shredding, 40. Yeah.
yeah, and then it actually sounds like it's broken.
Mhm.
Of
Yeah,
course,
it's
that's it.
yeah.
But that's again like one thing we don't know. We don't well you could I guess you could calculate how much life monsters have if you saw
Mhm.
like saw the damage numbers because you don't like because how the scaling with protections and life pools go right the bigger the life pool the more you would
Mhm.
need to produce the protection
Protection.
before it's like
Yeah.
more damage. Yeah, so it's really hard to really say if it even would be broken because
Yeah.
like
And you
40
could technically you can
yeah
really test it on a dummy, right? Because if dummies have infinite health, then they would need infinite protection to actually have an effect, right? If that makes sense.
You guys read chat?
We chat.
yeah
Oh, there you go. Oh yeah, we actually have someone. That's nice.
It's Jed.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
Jed.
that's Jed. Okay, cool. So yeah, I'm sure they're working on tooltips. I'm criticizing it here, but I mean, there's no way that they couldn't possibly be investigating tooltips. But yeah,
I'm surprised.
It's
Like,
a-
I'm pretty sure that I have damage numbers, if I remember correctly.
yeah, that's actually a weird thing that's going on. A lot of players don't have them, and I don't know why.
Neither
Read.
do we.
I do have damage numbers when I take damage though, so that's kind of cool.
Yeah, I see my damage taken as well, but I never take damage. So I don't care about that.
And I guess for what it matters, but when I started, like when the very first character, when it was by default, I was just like, let's take it out. Then I put it back on for a while, and it did work.
Yeah.
And somewhere along the line, when I disabled it again, and then
Mhm.
back on, it didn't work anymore.
Yeah, it's a little weird. Oh well.
Re-download your
Sure,
client, maybe? I don't know. That's weird.
I've done that. Didn't work.
I haven't tried that.
I haven't.
Yeah, I think there might be a setting in player prefs that's causing an issue. It's not getting set back right when you're turning them back on. I think that's the issue. So it might be manually changeable by just like nuking your registry file of the game and letting it reset, but it will like kill all your save characters and everything too.
Yeah.
So don't do that.
Little downside,
Well, I mean, it only takes oxygen like 4 hours to get to 100, so there's really no big loss there.
Yeah, no big deal, right?
Could you pack up the character like how are they saved? Like are they in a different folder or something that I could basically just like copy
Right now
into
they're registry
safety?
keys.
Yeah, it's register based, so it's gonna be weird to do.
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way.
I'm just
I can
hoping that
survive.
one day there's a patch, and after the patch my numbers show again.
Yeah, that's basically that's my strategy right now. Crossing fingers.
All right, Oxygen, what about your builds?
What about my builds? Wizard's pretty boring, but I'm gonna talk about the Beastmaster that I've gotten to 100 as well. The key to that build is called Eterra's Might. It's an Entangling Roots node that adds melee damage to the spell effect. And this melee damage scales at 200%, meaning that any added damage you have on your weapon or your the rest of your gear, if you're scaling with Warning Frost, will be added twice. Essentially, that means that you're going to be stomping things for tens of thousands of damage. I actually produced a pre-alpha video of that build just to showcase it. I didn't make a video for the new version yet. And then Entangling Roots also has other nodes, which allows your cast to overlap. So basically, you're hitting for tens of thousands of damage with that initial cast, and then everything around it is also dealing damage overlapping areas. So it hurts a lot. Basically kills void effigies and all those in 2 or 3 casts, even at level 100 and like wave 600 something scaling. Probably overpowered. especially when you start swiping. And swipe has a specific skill node specialization where if you use swipe, your damage is increased by 1%. If you swipe, your damage, crit, attack speed, and multiplier also increased for duration. And the specific node for the damage stacks for every time you use swipe. So if you swipe something a couple times and then start stumping, your stumps are getting the benefits from that increased damage. If you use leap slam, which once again has a node which increases your attack speed after leap slamming by something like 80%, and then start swiping very fast, you're stacking 40%, 40%, 40%, repeatedly. And then,
Wait.
You're unloading this. Yeah, it stacks. So you're unloading all this damage that you like stack up. You can see your character sheet, right? You go from like 1500 DPS to something like 9000. And then you just like stomp a couple times in a row and you have all this damage balled up into your casts. So
I didn't even consider that the stats that you get from the skills are global.
yeah, well,
You know
this one,
that?
it gives you a buff, right? It's called
Yeah.
Aspect of the Panther, I believe. So yeah, tons of damage, super large area effect, and Beastmaster has a lot of caked in life leech, so your survivability is really high. Yeah, and I started fiddling around with the node that makes it so that your stomp always stuns. So if you stagger your cast, you're casting, okay, it stuns for 1 second. You wait 1 second, you're casting again. So whatever you're hitting is going to be, chain stun as long as you have mana. I wish I could. I guess I'll make a little video out of it. Pretty. I could do it today probably just to
And
showcase that.
Judd wants to hear about your mage as well.
Jim wants to hear about the mage. I didn't say the mage is boring. It's just that it's more straightforward. So you're using black hole, and you're using. In my case, I'm using either volcanic orb, which has a lot of damage packets, and something has a lot of damage packets can be scaled with plus straight damage. Something like Morning Frost. Those boosts that I keep bringing up. Stack agility, get a lot of flat damage, and all of those damage packets and instances will go into your orb and your black hole. So you're just dealing a ton of different damage instances, which are getting increased by a flat amount. And it doesn't require that much thinking, so that's why I called it boring. But no, the gameplay in itself is fun. It's just that the way that you scale your skill is very straightforward.
It's too cookie cutter.
Yeah, it's pretty. Yeah, it's like, I don't know. It just seems to come naturally when you're looking at those skills, and the same can be done. The same can be done with Shock Orb as well, because Shock Orb has a specific or two nodes that adds flat damage or different damage instances to it. So if you have flat damage, those get added to those damage instances as well, and it makes makes for a lot of AoE damage.
Nice. So which skills without trees would you guys like to see created in the near term? You're good.
Oh, it's not throwing off the agenda. Karv, you go ahead.
Which skills without trees would you like to guys to create it? I want the flame cream now. The
Flame Wraith,
base
yeah.
the base
Oh.
skill looks so nice. I just want it. Also Frenzy Totem, because I want more buffs to my Totem character. I can't even think like what would you do with the Frenzy? Would you just like would you like make an option to make it complete like defensive totem, for example? Then like the name doesn't really fit anymore, but there's a lot you could do with the Frenzy, I think.
Yeah, I
Definitely
think there's a lot of room for even just skill nodes that completely redesign skills like that, where it just turns it into a different skill. It like drops the ability that it has primarily and just changes it completely.
Yeah, but definitely the Reeve, the Flame Reeve. It looks so cool and feels so smooth to play with.
Yeah, as for me, I don't really know. I didn't really think about that.
Say black hole. Say black hole. Say black hole.
Yeah, black hole. Black hole is an interesting discussion in general, because it's I believe it's one of the, if not the most overpowered skill in the game. It's got this huge mana cost, but even then, it makes a lot of wizard builds a lot more playable for me.
So one thing I
So,
will mention that we
yeah.
do when we have a skill that doesn't have a tree, we buff it a little bit
Yeah.
to make it more powerful, to make it still functional with skills that do have trees.
Yeah,
So
that shows. Yeah, for
yeah,
sure.
so like level 1 skills without trees are way more powerful than level
Mhm.
1 skills with trees.
Yeah, and that makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. That's yeah, it's a great idea.
Yes, Judd, for
Yeah.
sure. Wandering spirits and then the curse. I don't remember what's the.
Mark for jeez,
Mark
Mark for
for
death.
death.
Yeah, that'd be a pretty nice tree.
That'd be interesting. In general, I do like trees. Not personally, I like trees that really change the way that you use your skill. Because I was looking at like Rib Blood, right? I started my Necromancer today or last night really late, and I'm looking at Rib Blood, and one important thing for me when I make a character is, does this skill inspire me to do something crazy or scale it in a way that's unexpected, or use it in a way that's unexpected? And I felt like the tree for Rip Blood was just had a lot of generic nodes that are just like, okay, this does more damage, this does a bit of AoE damage, this heals a little more. And those aren't the kind of trees or the kind of skills I'm looking to build around. So I'll
That's
just
good
say that.
feedback.
Yeah.
That's good.
I think it's really important to really like have skills like summon skeletons that are pretty basic but will inspire players. And you look at the skeleton tree and it's massive, right? When yeah,
Yeah.
and I when I saw that, I started just giggling by myself in my late night in the office, and I thought, yeah, that's cool. This is what I want to see. I want to have this feel whenever I open a skill tree. And then I start looking at the nodes and I say, okay, how can I build this? Well, I can build this, I can make a legion of skeletons. I could build skeleton archers. I can go poison. I can go, mages and so on. And, I just had all these ideas popping in my head, and that's great. That's what you want to have. I feel inspired as a player, and this really makes me want to experiment. But then, you open what I said, like Rip Blood or Marrow Shards. They both felt pretty I was like, okay, how do I scale those? I get a lot of crit damage, and that's it. Like, move on. Just get good gear and your skill's good. That's it.
Yeah, that's pretty much like the first.
Yeah.
That's pretty much like the first question that I asked as soon as we got the skeleton tree, and I was like, we want to trim this back a little bit, like just a little tad, But if you look at it, like like the top left is what the ranger, bottom right is the warrior and commander, and like the bottom left is like it's like the mages. So it's kind of we had the branches there, but as Judd said, maybe 5 to 7 nodes will just be trimmed back a little bit to make it more fluent.
To make it less like, because I know one of my god, I don't want to go too deep into this, but one of my pro player friends is really dumb. Like, he's got super good game sense, but if he opens up this game, right, and sees this, he will press the X at the top right and then go play a fighting game, because he's just gonna see too much shit on the screen. Oh, sorry, am I allowed to swear?
Yes.
Oh, good.
Maybe.
Shit, fuck.
I don't have a problem with
it. He's gonna see too much stuff on the screen and just gonna get overwhelmed. So yeah, there is a balance to be stricken there, but on the other hand, players like me that like experimenting or doing stuff are just love to see a lot of stuff. Just love to see a lot of stuff on the screen like that. So I don't know. Gonna have to strike balance.
Yeah, I want to see more trees like the skeleton. There's like few skills I've had that were like, I don't really have that many options. I'd rather, then again, I think this is probably not a very common idea, but I'd rather be overwhelmed than underwhelmed.
Yeah, I agree. I something like Path of Exile. I'm sure everybody's played Path of Exile here. So yeah, huge amount of choices, huge amount of depth, and customization. And on the other hand of the spectrum, you have Diablo 3, which basically tells you, okay, so you're building this set because you're playing this build. You're building this build, you're building this set, and then everything else doesn't matter. Personally, I'm not a fan of the Diablo 3 system, and I think a lot of people will, I think this opinion will strike true with a lot of people. So yeah, I'd rather be overwhelmed than underwhelmed, because when you're overwhelmed, if you dedicate a bit of time in what you're doing, then you start understanding the intricacies, and that's where you can make discoveries. And when you make discoveries, there's little light that lights up in your head, and you're like, oh, that's great feeling, right? And you want to have that.
Absolutely. And with the skill trees right now, we are experimenting a little bit with like different depths of those trees. So like the skeleton tree was an experiment,
Mhm.
and some of the smaller trees are there as we didn't have a lot of time to finish them yet, and some of them are just let's see what it feels like when they're smaller as well. And a lot of it is experimentation right now.
Thanks, Carv. Just making sure.
Good.
Yeah, you know, with
But yeah, I do definitely agree that the trees that are bigger feel a lot better.
Yeah. Just don't fall into the trap of making a tree big for the sake of being big. As I said earlier, right? You like make it big, but also make it inspiring to players. Go crazy. Go crazy with your skills.
One
I
thing.
think that
Go ahead, Carv.
so yeah, about crazy. I think there should definitely be like one branch should be just basically like maybe like increasing the base skill and maybe adding some to it. One branch should definitely be like just like imagining the frenzy totem going into complete defense. So like
Mhm.
completely reworking it, and then you have like one or two like something like whatever. Something could be like just helping other skills synergize, like the entangling roots has like one branch that completely is for like minions, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's like a really good. So that's already three different branches, but then all the branches like they kind of have to have enough. So I don't remember what the skill was called, but for 20 points, you get 20 like a level 20 skills. I think I wasn't missing that many points. I think it's like one of the mage skills. It's either the very first like the fire shield or then the one you get from the
Lightning bolt?
master. I don't remember which one it was,
Mm.
but it felt like I was like I had too many points, kind of. Like
Early versions of Tornado and early versions of Mana Strike, you could finish the entire tree and actually have leftover points.
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I
But
know.
of course, I get it. It's probably like work in progress for most of the skills still. So
I know it's been mentioned before whenever we've done community streams in the past. I know that some trees will be trimmed back and some trees will be expanded. And then, don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure at least every skill or the majority of skills will all have some sort of tree, whether it's big or small.
So the goal for the long-term final product is that every single tree will have a deep and every single skill will have a deep and interesting tree that will have options that fundamentally change how the skill functions and options that change their power level and what they do and be fun to use. We want every skill to be a viable option to take and be fun to play with.
Yeah. Good.
And that's a really tall order. That's the
It
goal.
is. It's a really tall order, but it will. I feel like it can really pay off. You look at a game like Path of Exile, where there's a lot of customization, and this alone is selling the game for a ton of people.
Yeah, big time. Yeah, like Path of Exile has a fantastic system.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So we're pretty much already in future ideas as far as what we hope for the future. So we're just gonna keep with that. I don't really have that many builds. I mean, I just mess around with every build that I possibly can and see what skills are broken. So I don't really pick builds. I just kind of go with the flow and see how far I can get to. Future ideas. Hey, Mike, can we get a search option for our crafting panel? I'm just curious.
Absolutely. Yes. It's not what I'm working on right now. I have laid out my plans for that. I've got a document that says what I'm going to do. There will be. Do you want me to tell you what the plans are for the crafting window
Well,
UI?
I don't know how many people played during the demo, but prior to our crafting menu, we definitely had to where you had to hoard every single little shard in your stash. And so you had to
God.
organize your stash by how many shards you had, and it was atrocious. And then we finally went to this system. And this system is a huge improvement, but it still needs some work.
Oh yeah, big time. Yeah,
Just,
and like as we brought up earlier, we're changing things so fast, and a lot of the times, like it's what needs to be fixed the most. That's what we're fixing the most.
Yeah.
And we got the crafting system in the pre-alpha when we were in Kickstarter and working on the Necro patch. We got the crafting system to a point where we were happy enough with it for now. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but the crafting system did not change at all from the Necro patch to the alpha launch. There was
Nope.
0 work done on it. And that was because it was sort of
It was sustained.
it was good enough for what we had, and we have tons of plans for it. So broad strokes plans, things like you put a piece of armor into the crafting panel, and you can tell it this will be a toggleable option for sure, but it will just automatically only show you the things that can go in it.
Yeah.
So just be like, okay, everything that's here can be put in it, be it because it's allowed to go in this type of armor and you have an available slot of the appropriate type and it's not maxed out already on there. Or it's, oh, there's 4 things on it already. The only things that will show up are those 4 things that are there already. So that is a feature that is coming. It's going to be a while before we get that in, but we are working on that. Things along the lines of just basic searches. Like right now, all it does is there's like a really janky sort by clicking on the
names. Yeah.
Yeah, the names at the top, and it doesn't quite work right. We're gonna have things where it indicates which thing you've sorted by. When you click on one type of sort and then click on the next, it will subsort it by that. So you click on quantity and then name, it will, or if you do name and then quantity or something like that, it does all of the, if you have 4 things that you have 10 of, in those 4 things that you have 10 of, it will sort them by name as well in that. So like basic sorting that you get in like any like in Explorer or Finder or any of those like just file programs on every computer. All that type of sorting will be there. There'll be category sorts as well, so you can say like I only want to see like physical damage things, or I only want to see different resistance things. You'll be able to filter what is on your list manually as well. Yeah, like all those search and sort options we are going to implement. They're not ready yet. They're not immediate things. It won't happen in the next patch or 2.
Right.
But it's on the table.
It is absolutely going to happen. Yes, we are also working on. So Mitch and I have been working a lot on the crafting system. He designed the base crafting system, and he's been leading up the design on the crafting stuff a lot. I've mostly been helping him with the UI and the like how it functions and that sort of stuff. And so we've been talking about new items to have for crafting, and this is something that we are going to be working on coming up. This is one of the things that we want to start getting back rolling in our production schedule is crafting. And so like items that say drop affixes off items that make it so that your crafting won't fracture when you use it, but it like uses up some other resource at the same time, or it binds the item to you, which doesn't really matter because there's no trading yet.
Yeah.
Or it stops the item from being able to be crafted on anymore, things like that. So like upsides with a downside type items, or even more rare items that have bigger upsides without downsides, things like that. So there will be a lot of crafting UI updates and quality of life updates, and there will be crafting functionality item updates as well. Those are all planned. They're all coming. Yeah.
Cool.
And then, so future ideas. I know. Does anybody have anything else before I push forward a little bit with a topic that he mentioned earlier?
Well, for the crafting, I mean, we already have a kind of a loot filter, right? We have the option to show how many prefixes and suffixes the items have, right?
Mm-hmm.
You have the
I know where you're going with this, and keep going.
Yeah, but it doesn't show the amount of like combined tiers, right? So
Yes.
just an option to show the tiers, and then I'm assuming this is gonna be a thing in the future at some point. But after since I hit like level 70 or something like that, I'm starting to see a lot of items on the ground. Like I don't necessarily care if I'm seeing a lot of items on the ground, but I have to manually look at every single of the item.
Yeah.
Because I'm not like familiar of like reading the base item from the prefix and the suffix. So I'm looking for mana regen. So the only spawns once, right? So I have to just like look for the wand. So like either be able to highlight a base, in this case it'd be a wand, or a a mod, and that would make the time between the waves, for example, right now like 10 times faster because I could just like skip through everything else except the ones that I'm looking for.
Yeah. So the topic, like the overarching topic, is loot filters, really.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah, and so like so that's been brought up, and loot filters are something we are going to do, and we've been discussing how we want to do that. Broad strokes on it, we can't do loot filters the same way that a lot of other games do loot filters, because whether an item is like has 4 affixes or 1 affix, the 1 affix item could be the one you're looking for, and the 4 affix one could be completely useless because you're pulling affixes off of the items, just like you're talking about. You're looking for a specific affix there. So the goal for the loot filter long term is to be able to specify which type of affix you're looking for. To say like, and it might actually be built into the crafting window of like checking off like which of these shards am I looking for type thing. And that is something we want to do. That's a pretty big undertaking for us. For now, it might end up being like short-term things. Might be able to see just like total number of affixes on an item, having those display. That might be something that we do short-term, but that's a long-term project, and it will happen. I promise.
There's
Nice.
also just to add on to this, I think one of the things that might be making figuring out if an item is good or not on the ground is that, well, I'm going to illustrate with an example. If you're playing Diablo 2 or like Path of Exile, different tiers of affixes will have different names. So, for instance, if you have an item that gives you, a measly 1 to 2 cold damage, it's going to be called,
Chilling.
sort of chilling, exactly. Yeah. Whereas if you have something that's a high tier cold damage, then you're gonna have like sort of a glacier or sort of avalanche or something like that, and that really does help player figure out whether or not an item is good right off the bat. Because right now the way that it is that you have an item that gives attack speed. It's called deft, no matter what it is. It could be 3% attack speed, or it could be 21 or something. So that's something else to consider.
So that what you described in as far as higher tier versions having different names should be in the game and working right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's already that way.
It is?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Unless-
Unless something's broken and not working, it's already that way.
Okay, so I found a bug because affixes names aren't showing.
So if you don't have damage numbers, then you definitely don't have the different tiers. Got it.
Yep.
Okay, so that's good to know. I will I'll check into that, because we do have different names for different tiers of every affix, and I typed every single one of them in myself.
Okay.
So I know they're in the system.
Okay, what's flaming? So it's definitely not a. I'm looking at the weapon right now on the ground that says Flaming Club of Authority, which is minion damage, melee fire damage, right? And the authority is that's 76% minion damage.
Is it physical damage or minion damage? Because that's different.
Minion, just minion.
Okay.
But
I don't know what the numbers are, and I'm actually on my laptop right now, so I don't have the. I don't have any of it on me.
Back to like the name of the item,
Yeah.
right? So since you can only show on the night, like you can't really slap 2 different prefixes onto the item and then make the base name and then 2 different, of authority of whatever. So
Correct.
It shows whichever affix was rolled first onto the item.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's also that's something else I was going to bring up. Right, you can't have like flaming icicle sword of the leech of the bat, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't. So that's another like kind of problem you might have to tackle with a kind of item system like that. I mean, technically you could do it, but then you'd have item names that are like longer than the screen.
Yeah. One thing actually about the naming, how big of a deal it is to change the name, like I'm looking at the item right now, so it's green because it's like 4 affixes.
Yeah.
How big of a deal would it be to have a different color for the base item in the middle? Then it would then you could actually like see read up the base name very fast without having to like hover over to it or actually read the whole name or try to like scout from the middle.
So the affixes would show up as green, and then the base name would always show up as white or gray or black.
Yeah. For example, like flaming in green, and then you have club, which would be just white, and then of authority again on green. I don't know how
we can make that
confusing
happen
would be.
very easily in the way it's set up.
Yeah, just like
Yeah.
just not the base, but like a toggle. I can see it being very like annoying for some people maybe, because then it's like gonna be
Yeah. I
like
guess
so
it
much
depends on how
different
you do
colors
it.
per items, but
Yeah.
it
Because
would
people
it would
are
be easier.
people are used to like seeing one color per item, right? So
Yeah,
if you start having like rainbow colored items, then they'll be like, oh, I'm picking up their 3 different items on the ground, and then they pick up the club or whatever, and then everything disappears, and they're like, what the hell? Where's my items? So that might be confusing in a way. But
I mean,
then
it could
again,
be
it really depends on how you do it, right?
toggable too.
True.
The way the item names are colored, it is possible to do that. I don't know if we will, or if we want to possibly make that as an optional thing to have people use, but yes, it is possible.
Carve rechat.
Yeah. But definitely a way of sorting items out now faster when they're on the ground, because as Carv said, when I'm doing high level arenas, right, I'm looking for items with high tier affixes and so on, so I can break down or craft on, and I'm just hovering on everything, like, and I feel kind of like an idiot. I'm like, okay, so this thing, no, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad, and I'm like, oh god, what am I doing? I'm like,
Yep.
I at this point I might as well just like log in and log out and reroll the merchant and just farm that way, right?
A really easy fix for that. Like right now, you kind of have to like remember you have to remember the values, right? If you want to do that, if you want to just like look at the item on the ground, you have to remember what the values are for each tier, right?
Yeah.
So because I don't remember them, so I'm actually picking a lot of them, and then I'm just like spamming them into the crafting UI to see the amount of tiers. Again,
Right.
I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be a big deal to like add to the, hold Alt or whatever, and it just shows the tier on the ground.
Yeah.
That's another request we've got,
yeah.
and that's something that I'm pretty sure we will do is showing the tiers in the alt, like the extra info tooltip.
Yeah, PoE has done that, and that's been it's been really nice. But the way that PoE does it is kind of shitty, because they split all the like oh god, they could do it way better just by using a bit less space or splitting the affixes and the prefixes in a smarter way. But
we've gone through so many tooltip visual like iterations, like
yeah.
you guys think that we've changed it a lot? You've no idea how many times we've changed it.
Yeah. I've messed around with tooltips before from our own game projects and so on, and I know exactly I know exactly how this goes.
Yeah.
So trust me, I know your pain.
It does show it now, right? You have the arrow on the left side if it's a prefix.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a nice change. But
I just now noticed it when I started like actually looking. Yeah.
Oopsie.
Seth had this question yesterday while I was in his chat, and he's like, he wishes that he could tell. It's like, well, there's an arrow. I just want you to know on like the left and right hand side. And he's like, I'm an idiot. And I was like, look, man, you like pre-alpha, like demo, like the information was so small compared to what it is now. Like there was no like alt for like advanced tooltips. Like it was just, hey, here's your item, go with it. And we're just like, okay. And you'd go and you'd kill monsters and like, okay, well, what's next? And then we did like the dots and then the advanced tooltips and like all this extra, like it's steadily improving. But, and I hate to quote this, but it's still going to be a huge work in progress for everything. I mean, it's an alpha, which is what people fail to understand. I don't know how many questions. Like I try to be in every Discord that I possibly can be, just to help out the team, and everybody complains that it's like a $50 game and they want like the full product, or why doesn't this work immediately? Why is there only 2 passive trees like per class? And we're like, it's a work, man. It's a slow progress of work.
Why there's so many bugs in my pre-alpha?
I've been telling it.
There's some people that are a little like they expect it to be full product already, but I think a vast majority of the people are very understanding of it.
Yeah.
We're getting a lot of really good feedback.
Yeah.
No. I've been telling everyone that the third tree is just like just behind a paywall. So that's like
you have to purchase Diablo 3 to unlock the MTX. It's a partnership with Blizzard.
Oh god,
it's fucking with people,
All right,
so buy your 50 Hearthstone packs.
I'm gonna go ahead and move in to sneak peeks. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna try to do this correctly. I'm gonna bring up a window and we'll talk about it. I don't want to say very briefly, but we'll hit on what we're going to show. So sneak peeks, and of course, where did it go? Got to go up here. Hello, game. Hello.
It's a sneak
There you
peek.
go.
It's hidden.
There we go. All right, so I know many people have had questions about Blade Dancer and Rogue because Blade Dancer was the class that was supposed to come out after Necro. To quote what happened, whenever I find it, there it goes. So the change of the mastery system, we had to focus on that. They're pretty trying to redo everything since we went to the mastery system. So Rogue got kind of pushed back, but they're still working on it. It had to be redone. So that's what we're trying. Well, that's what they're trying to fix out and push out because we just currently don't have the Rogue. Rogue is the final class that we do not have right now. So Rogue, Blade Dancer, Marksman. I don't remember the other one as far as mastery classes go.
Falconer.
I see you based her art off of my future wife.
Oops.
Cool.
That's where it pretty much all went as far as not back burner, but just having a lot of rework that had to be done, right, Mike?
Yeah. We when we overhauled the mastery system, we also kind of had a few iterations of the rogue class that it didn't quite fit properly, and we decided it wasn't ready, and we felt that the necromancer was actually really rushed, and we were a little like we were happy to get it out, and we're really happy with where it is now. But when we initially pushed it out, we weren't overly happy with how it showed up at the first showing. So we're trying to make this class a little more not complete, that's the wrong word, but a little more put together when it does appear.
A little bit more polished.
Yeah. And yeah, it's coming along great, and we're really happy with where it is now.
I'm really surprised that we haven't gotten that many questions on what happened in Blade Dancer, because whenever we were in Kickstarter/demo, that was the question besides Necro, and it just kind of died.
Yeah. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be awesome.
Well, yeah, you say you scrapped her. You say you scrapped her design a lot, or a couple times, or whatever. Do you have any? Like bits about what she was, or what kind of abilities she had, and why it didn't work out? Because for me, that's the kind of design discussion that I'm interested in.
We didn't actually scrap too much as far as the like ability designs and that sort of stuff goes. When we kind of reimagined the like when the whole mastery system changed, because we added a third mastery class, but the base skills for the rogue changed then, because it needs to incorporate all three. I mean, all of the base skills changed for all the classes when that happened. And you don't really see a ton of the third mastery in many of them yet, but a lot of the visual style got changed is more what I'm talking about, of stuff that got thrown out.
Oh, I see. Okay, so it's more a visual issues than like a design issues, you'd say.
Yeah.
Okay,
Carve.
cool.
Check chat. Carve. You see it?
Yeah.
You said something about how the base class changed a lot, and that's an interesting criticism I saw, a piece of feedback I saw yesterday in the chat, is that the base classes are a lot more similar to one of the masteries than the other. For instance, the Necromancer base class feels like a Necromancer, and then if you want, you can kind of spec out into Lich-ish. The Knight base class really feels like Void Knight. So in that sense, I understand why that is. It's because, those are the classes we had. So you guys just worked off of those and kind of took a step back and said, okay, how do we split them? Do you feel that in general you're going to have more distinction between those classes, right?
Oh, absolutely. So
okay.
the long-term goal, I'll use the Knight as an example.
Yeah.
So the base class for the Knight will have some skills that will feel more Paladin-esque. It'll have some skills that feel more Sentinel-esque, and we'll have some skills that feel more Void Knight-esque.
Yeah.
They will all be Knight skills, and there'll just be some that sort of feel a little bit more like they go into the others, but for the most part, they should be usable by any or all of them. and then the ones that really define your character class as far as theme will be unlocked through that tree.
Okay.
So the Void Knight skills will be Void Knight skills. So a one big example is Tempest. Right now it's purple and it feels very Void Knighty. And this is gonna sound like a ridiculous change, but even just the simple thing of taking that purple and making it white will make it not feel like a Void Knight skill as much anymore.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that's actually something that we've been working on, and like the VFX for that will change very soon.
The tree will have to change as well because it's got a lot of void damage, it's got mind rot, it's got all that kind of stuff. So you need to make, in a sense, what you're saying is that you're going to take a lot of the skills that you that you have in the game, you're going to dial back on them and make them more generic. So for those base classes.
Absolutely. Yes.
Okay, good.
And so like each class, like mage has the generic mage classes, knight has the generic knight classes.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, like we made the necromancer as a necromancer class, and then we're like, oh hey, here's the acolyte now is what you get. But
here's the lich, by the way. And you're like, who? What does she do? And you're like, or what does he do? And you're like, well, it's just necromancer with a bit more life loss. And you're like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the masteries and the new skills for all those things, they're all getting like slowly worked on piece by piece.
Good.
I know that that's one of the things that Mitch is actually starting to work on right now is getting new skills in and new trees in for the subclasses that didn't have as many to start with.
Here's a crazy idea. Do you think that you could have, you get your base skills? So for instance, let's take we'll take a summon skeleton, right, for the acolyte. So say that's a basic acolyte skill, and now you decide to spec into necromancer. Do you think you'd go as far as making necromancer unlock a different tree, a different specialization tree for summon skeleton, whereas you'd have the lich unlock another tree that's really like more like lich based and so on? And
probably not entirely new skill trees.
Yeah.
If we were to do something like that, it would probably be more along the lines of there's like a section of the tree that unlocks. We've talked about doing that before.
Yeah.
I don't have a yes or no answer on this one.
Sure.
It won't be. I shouldn't say it won't be. It probably won't be an entirely new tree.
Right. But it could be a section that unlocks, or like a couple nodes that are like, okay, these nodes are reserved to Lich, these nodes are reserved to Warlock, these nodes are reserved to Necromancer. And they would do like very thematic things. Like, for instance, I don't know, Necromancer specific nodes could, like, I don't know, just triple your maximum number of skeletons. Then the Lich node could make it so your skeletons die over time, but like heal you, and the Warlock could do, I don't know what the fuck the Warlock thematic's gonna be. Maybe they turn into fireballs when they die and then they explode or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah.
And those would be really like tied to those classes and really thematic. That would be cool.
The other place to put those types of abilities that are specifically tied to those classes is behind in their passive tree. But the downside of that is it's really hard to put skill, like active skill specific passive nodes. That's a really dangerous thing to do.
Yeah. Absolutely. But I think it would be cool to be part of the specialization tree, because you'd be like, okay, well, you could get really inspired. I keep going back to that word, right? Inspired.
Great word.
Get really inspired by like, you're like, oh man, this Warlock nodes looks cool. Like I wanna explode my skeletons and make fire rain down on my enemies when they die. So maybe I'll go to Warlock and spec into that. And then you have to take some points out of you kind of have to plan around it too, because if you have to invest in your specialization for that, maybe there's 4 or 5 points you need to keep for that. So that'd be cool.
Yeah.
I
really think it's a very cool idea, and it's on the table.
Cool. Glad to hear you guys actually talking about that.
We have
actually read my mind. I was thinking about asking the same question about the mastery class unlocking a tree, but I was thinking about it in a slightly different way, and that would be after reaching a certain amount of points in the mastery, right? Not just going for the 25, right? But going like, let's say you're 50, or like, I don't know, like 98 is like maximum, right? What if there's unlocking at like 95 points, which would like just spending all of the points in one particular mastery.
The tree.
like one like great reward just for being like
Yeah.
that, like the final skill or something like that, like the ultimatum.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the other one,
Yeah.
the other one, like, this is kind of like the mastery again. But so you said talk about the color of the Tempest, I think was the called. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
What if it just like had again? This I guess this is just like a quote unquote useless extra work, but when you spec into mastery, or if you spec into a certain point in the skill tree, it just like changes how it looks like. Because right now we just like you add like effects. For example, the fire shield gets like the righteous fire type burning below it. But if it like changed like the color of it or something like that, because then you could have like the base Tempest, and if you then spec into like the void skills and whatnot, then it would change the color to purple, for example.
Yeah.
You could
That's-
tie
that's a
that to
cool
those.
idea.
You could definitely tie that to the extra specialization nodes that I was discussing a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Or like,
And it would, yeah, you're changing your base skill into like you're making, say you have 5 base skills, right? You're making those 5 base skills into like your specialization skills, basically, right? Tempest would be
Yeah.
hell. Tempest could become like Void Tempest, and Shield Charge could become like Shield Rift or whatever. Like make it very Void Knight-ish.
what I mean,
Yeah.
like an idea I think I've thrown out before, like whenever we were actually trying to build the Necromancer, was like the more that you spec into a class, so to say, or like a certain tree, like your skill effects would change depending on how deep you were into the tree.
Yeah.
So it kind of like progressively grows or progressively changes like the deeper that you go. But I mean, prior to this, like if anybody remembers, the passage tree was an axis-based diamond essentially before we actually had like the mastery trees, which was a pain.
Mhm.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I'm really glad that was changed.
That was my baby. Ah.
Well, your baby didn't make it to alpha. I'm sorry.
It had interesting things to it.
It was too complicated. I'm
Yes.
completely aware of its shortcomings.
Yeah.
And you don't need to worry about like saying bad things about it at all.
Just leave it alone.
Once I figured out how to min max it, I was like, okay, that's interesting. But you need you need to spend a lot of time on that, and probably more time than most people are willing to.
Yeah, and that was the thing, is it became too. It wasn't intuitive enough, and it became too complex. To
and
actually work.
adding stuff to it would probably be very nightmarish as well.
All right.
And
So we scrapped it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was
Everybody
funny. I
ready?
actually went on. I took a couple weeks off. I didn't turn Discord on at all to go get married. And when I left, it was in the game, and when I came back, it was gone.
You get the ring, you lose the grid.
Yeah.
Good.
It was good. I'm very happy with the new system. I think it's way better.
Yeah. Could be fleshed out a little more. I feel like a lot of nodes are still generic, like, oh, get a bit more damage, get a bit more life. Yeah. In general, it is better, and I think those nodes could use a little more spice, I guess, spiciness.
I will mention, with a lot of the nodes that are in the master tree and some of the nodes that are in the skill trees, which you guys have mentioned already as well,
They feel like a port.
They are there as filler.
Yeah.
Because we just don't have the back end tech for what we want them to be yet. So
Yeah.
we have a few design documents that are what we want the trees to look like long term and things. And I'm like, a lot of them are just me sitting at home being like, this will be so cool. And then Michael gets in and he's like, Mike, we can't do that yet at all. Give me some more generic ones to put in.
Yeah.
All right. So moving forward.
Can we go slightly back to the current system?
Yep.
Right now you can, like, how you can respec out is you respec the latest point, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I have there's like a few different. The first question is there going to be a way to respec a, you can like target a single node you want to
Yes.
take out, so you don't have to go like 15 skill points back. And if you said that's going to be a thing, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so the next one is, have you, when looking at the points, like the power level of the point, like the very very first one into the late ones, it's not that big of a difference, right? The like the point efficiency at least doesn't seem to be like crazy difference from like the first point to the last one. So have you considered? I guess how could I explain this? So like right now you have to like go up into the tree, right? So you have to put points into the first skills in order to get to the next ones. Have you considered a way so to remove the first skills, but if you have enough skill points in the mastery, so that it keeps like its progress? Like for
No.
example, let's say that we have the 25 point the mastery. Let's say that we go to all the way to like 50 points. Now, could I like remove the very first beginning points to put more points into the upper tree, for example?
No. So each row has its own requirements. Each row has requires minimum 5 points from the row before it. So you can't take points out of rows that would make the position illegal. So the
Yeah,
tree
that's
will
how
always
it is now.
yes, and that's the way it will always be.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you? I guess that spawned a new question for me. Do so you said Carv said that, and rightly so, that points that come later in the tree feel about the same power level as nodes that are, earlier in the tree. Do you
Yeah.
think? Do you think that's actually a problem? Do you? Well, I don't want to make it. I don't want to word it negatively. Do you think it would be better if later nodes would provide more power per point? Would feel more powerful in general?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
That
Nice.
is the plan. That is the goal.
Okay.
Like
Because right
skill
now it's not the
trees.
case.
Because
Right?
like
Yeah.
with skill trees, like the further you go in the tree, like the more that you unlock. And I mean, the past tree should kind of be like that, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And you don't want to. The other big problem is that if there are points at the start of the trees before the lock node happens that are at similar power level to ones that are later in the game, it could happen where you're like, okay, well, I always go down when I'm building my mage. If I'm going rune master or sorcerer, no matter what, I build up a certain amount. I do whatever build I have, and then I always take these few nodes at the start of Spellblade because they're just so good and they're always there, and I always take them no matter what. And we really want to avoid decisions like that where it's like there's just given things that you're like, okay, well,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it because it's there and I always do it.
Yeah,
Personally, I'd make them more. I'd make later nodes more powerful per point, but also more specific.
Yes.
Like, for instance, you're talking about the sorcerer. Early nodes could just be like, flat spell damage, flat elemental damage, casting speed. Those kind of things that's like everybody kind of wants, or that most builds could want. But later on, you could go for stuff that's like, very related to ignite or whatever, like ignite speed or ignite damage and all those kind of things, or like added cold damage against ignited target. Like that's a very specific node, but because it's very specific, you can tune it in a way that it feels super powerful, right? If you get a flat spell damage nodes, right?
Yeah.
It gives 4 or 5% per point. But if you have like cold damage against ignited targets, suddenly you can ramp that up to like 10-12% per point because of how specific and how you have to build kind of around to make it work.
Yeah,
So
so I literally
fulfilling,
have that
yeah.
node that you just described as one of the nodes we're in our draft documents.
Yeah, okay, that's good. Good. Don't do that then. It's a bad idea. if I came up with it, it's a bad idea. But yeah, good. Because that's what I want to see, right? I want to say, oh, yeah, you want to trade us, but again, I go back to this word, you want to inspire your players to build in a certain way. And one way to inspire players to build in a weird way is to just make them fucking strong when they get there. Cool.
All right, capes on skeletons. What's this about, Mitch? Or Mike?
Oh, that was our rigger, one of our modelers. I don't remember who it was that posted that. But we've been trying to get capes happy and functional, and just cloth physics happy and functional, where gears switched in and out on characters. So like oh, I equipped this new piece and it gives me a cape and it flows and interacts with things properly. This is just the latest version of that and the progress we've got on it.
I was really hoping for like a giant skeletal army that's in like formation. Not gonna lie.
Skeletal Legion.
Yes.
Summon 8 skeletons that march toward your enemies.
They all have
you
flowing
say
capes
that?
They're gorgeous.
But that was definitely like one of my ideas that I pitched out for where we actually started to theory craft all the necro skills.
Yeah, it's that's funny you say that. I'm doing some like side game armchair. Well, not armchair. It's actually a game, but like game design. And I was at this very moment. I was well, not this very moment, but like this week, I was working on the necromancer character, and I was thinking of like kind of cool abilities to give to necromancer. Like what makes a necromancer cool, right? When you're playing a game, what do you want from your necromancers? And yeah, you want to hit those thematic hallmarks for sure.
All right. Any more comments on this before I push forward?
Capes are cool.
All I can think about is like the Incredibles with like the little small lady saying "no capes."
No capes. Yeah.
No capes.
Hey,
Can we burn the cape without killing the skeleton?
I don't
That
think
kills-
so.
all right. What is this abomination thing?
It's like the Omen.
Yeah, that's the base model for the new Omen of Silence, I think.
Yes. Then I'll show it moving.
That's in the game now, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
You only see it once though, because you kill it really fast. And it doesn't spawn in the arena, unlike the pre-alpha.
I'm trying to like. This is a really bad MP4, and it doesn't loop. So I'm trying to like click play and then go to the next one.
Yeah, we've got some new modelers in, new animators in, and yeah, they're doing some really cool stuff.
Stretching that Kickstarter money, huh?
Yeah, we're
Oh.
still being conservative with it.
So I know this was a pretty bad like optimization wise as far as this picture goes. I think Luke posted this last night about shadows.
Yeah.
So this will definitely help with frames and everything else. I don't remember which one's the before, which one's the after. It looks like the after by turning it off. Now it looks like the before.
That's before.
Yeah. So that way it'll definitely help with some performance issues.
Yeah, Luke's always in there changing graphic stuff, trying to get every frame we can out of it, and make it look gorgeous at the same time. So he does a lot of really great work with that. Like he has increased the visual quality of our game a ton.
What was it during the demo that we got that was pretty significant? Was it like the water, or was the
Yeah,
lighting?
we got a water upgrade in the demo. We
Yeah.
got a big lighting upgrade in the demo too. Yeah. We changed over so much. Like, I can't. Describing everything that we've changed would take me a week.
Yeah. So here's what Jed sent me for as far as the photoshopping and like the loot filter as far as like the white base. Excuse me. That looks actually. I'll agree with Carve, top and bottom for sure.
Yeah, the ones with the color being the same but just being like more bold. That's not gonna help, at least me. And then when you have where you have the sword as a green, I don't know. It kind of when you think about it, you have the base, right? Your base item is usually like white, so it's weird. Feels weird that the base is not top in white. But yeah, it's definitely either the bottom or the top, I think.
Yeah.
That would help a lot right now. Like I'm trying to look like few bases. For example, the relic and the gloves that have like the main stat or whatever you want to call it. I don't remember exactly what they were.
Implicit.
Like what I'm talking about, like the implicit that has the not like strength, but I think it's like vitality or like agility or whatever the gloves were. No, gloves were vitality, and then the relic was whatever. So I'm like looking over into like every each item to try to find it. So that would definitely help.
I think it's because I know like Six said in chat, like I know Grim Dawn has a mod that kind of does this, or it actually does this. I don't remember. I haven't played Grim Dawn in a while, but it kind of separates the base from the
The mods.
effects. Yeah. So hopefully that's something that we'll see in the future. I agree. Like I don't see changing the font boldness, from italic to normal. I don't think that's a great. It doesn't really separate it as far as like it's easy on the eyes. I think like the white base or even like changing like the colors from like prefixes and suffixes could help as well. Any comments on this one before I push forward?
I like the white. I can see a lot of people not liking it. My vote would be to try and find a way to make it as an optional feature.
Yeah.
But who knows what we'll do.
Yeah,
I
I
mean-
wouldn't definitely force it on anyone, but just like have the toggle open, just like we have for the prefix and suffixes.
The best way to do it is just to let players choose their colors. So
Yeah.
if you don't like something, you change it, and if you like it, then you leave it at it.
Fully customizable UI. Let's go.
But according to Blizzard, you have to pay $15 for these unlockable features. So don't forget.
Isn't it 20? I thought
Oh,
it was
yeah.
20.
All right, so
25.
here is the Tempest change, I guess. That's just pure white, rather than it being purple now, right?
Yeah, there's a little bit of a glow in there. So there's a little bit of a light source. Yeah.
I'd give it.
Oh, yeah.
It seems pretty. Seems pretty noisy. Wouldn't you give it just a bit more transparency?
Yeah, maybe a bit.
Yeah.
The more
Seems-
the more I'm able to see
Yeah.
while shit is hitting the fan in the screen, the better. Like playing the totem build, I don't see anything. I can
Yeah.
see the animation for the big guys for the void slam or whatever. But other than that, it's really hard to see stuff because there's like 15,000 thorn spikes on the screen.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
In general, I do think that spells need to be toned down, and I think that's going to become more and more obvious as we embark into multiplayer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I was about to imagine having 4 people playing the totem build.
Imagine
You,
that
you literally can't see anything.
4 people playing like Eteros Might and Tingling Roots, like
Yeah.
I'll be surprised if any abilities survive in their current VFX to
Oh, yeah.
release.
I mean, like,
Yeah, I assume. Yeah, I assume it's going to change a lot, but it's just a general like
yeah,
kind of
that's
warning.
a good. I actually already put that in the.
Mhm.
I'm typing in right now.
I know that we've already changed a few of them. Like Fireball used to be completely different from what it is now, and I remember whenever that was posted and people really enjoyed it. 'Cause Fireball used to be like a little tiny like red beam. It was like a pew pew, but now it's like an actually like legitimate fireball.
Oh, I love the new look, but again, when you get a lot of cast speed and double cast
Oh, yeah.
and everything, and extra projectile and make them into a line, like it becomes super
Mhm.
noisy. And I don't mean noise like sound noise, but really
Oh, yeah.
visual noise.
Yeah, because the more visual noise that you have, the more it's strains your computer and
hmm
etc.
Yeah, it fills the screen with stuff, right? And you're trying to see what's going on.
Busy, yeah.
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah, it's more busy.
Oh, yeah, now that we have speaking of the Tempest, is it intentional that it has like a cast time before you start doing anything, or like is there a plans to make, I don't know, maybe add like a class like for the skill tree to make it so that it starts instantly, or does it like scale? Does the cast time for it to begin go down with like attack speed? Like I have a knight, but it's like level 20 or something, so I haven't really been able to go deep into it, but it feels very like awkward. Like you have the monsters coming in your face, and then it's like, okay, I wanted to spin through them, and then it's like takes like not half a second, but it takes like an
The tiny
enough
bit of
time,
delay
yeah.
at level 1 is intentional. Having that time drop through skills or something, I think that's a great idea.
Attack speed should probably drop it,
Yeah,
if anything.
either attack speed or cast speed, one of those two, or maybe both. Or
Cast speed would be
s-
awkward because it's
Yeah.
not how you
Yeah,
build.
Because
Tempest.
I know, as Art said in the demo, it was instant, and then
Yes.
we added like the short, like
Mhm.
wind up time almost.
Yeah.
I mean, it's thematic that you have you swing the weapon behind your back and then you start spinning, but it's just in practice it feels very awkward.
Oh,
Yeah.
sloppy.
All right, news. As I guess you guys didn't hear it because we were all in a call together. Mike, do you want to talk about the leaderboards?
Oh yeah, I am making leaderboards right now. I think this is the first time we've announced that we're doing this publicly. We're creating a system. It uses the same backend that the chat system uses to create a leaderboard system that will it'll differentiate between different game settings like hardcore, softcore, and it'll put up the goal is to have the highest wave that you've reached in the arena be a
So-
persistent leaderboard.
Oxygen wins currently.
Right now, nobody's
what-
really trying.
The goal, I think we're gonna do it as just like one per account. So like even if you have like 8 characters that are all really high, it'll just do whatever your account's highest one is.
Yeah, that would make it easier.
And it will say so the way I have it set up right now, and this is like I started working on this last week, and it's not ready yet. I'm having some problems, but it will be ready soon. Is it'll just show your character level, the wave you got to, the character class you're playing as, and your it'll display name. So the name that shows up when you first turn the game on and it says welcome so and so, it'll show that name.
So what this actually is that this is a giant trap, and so all the builds that get like the super high levels and waves, they're just going to nerf. I
Well,
see.
it won't show your skills. It won't show your skills. So it won't show the build you're using.
Do you have a way?
Yeah,
of-
but you can see it, right? You just like you just pick the top 10 and okay, these builds are gonna die now.
Do you have a way of looking at builds right now that people are playing?
No, we don't.
Okay, you should get one. Yeah, I'm just saying. I'm not gonna reveal it, but I'm doing some broken shit on my end that I've not talked about.
Oh.
We'll bring up
Just
relatively shortly.
don't
When
show it to
the leaderboard gets
Leroy.
brought in.
Now that you
Excuse me?
started it, when we finish it.
I don't know. I'll
If
need more
you-
beer.
Hey, if you want to, just go ahead and send it to me because I'll be streaming tonight, and that way I can. I kind of have a say. Leroy generally takes away my fucking Nerf hammer 90% of the time, but I mean, if everybody,
No, I really do have some stuff that's like Nerf worthy. Even by my standards, considering what I'm doing. But yeah, I'll be talking about those very recently. But I like testing things out before calling it busted or broken or
Yeah.
yeah, that's
and
exactly.
I try to
Part
be
of the reason
reasonable.
why the ladder as well got delayed. I was initially trying to get it out for alpha launch, but the reason why I kind of shoved it to the side and waited was because we wanted to let people play around with it a bit first and try and see some more broken stuff that would emerge first and do a couple rounds of balancing before we release that as a feature.
So my question is that with the leaderboards, right? How is there gonna be like a X amount of time reset for the ladder? Or I guess it's not ladder; it'd be leader. Is there? Is like once the game goes into full, so to say, have we thought about like leaderboard resets every month, quarter, year?
We don't know yet. So the short answer is we don't even know if the arena is going to exist in the final game yet. So
Oh, yeah, that's true.
the leaderboards we have for the arena would be contingent on that even existing. Leaderboard resets, I would suggest. So we are going to have season and ladder resets. And so I would suggest that there would probably be, if we do have a leaderboard for specific things like an arena, that the leaderboards would reset with the ladder, and there would be a persistent one for I'm just gonna use Diablo 2 terms, non-ladder or
Mhm.
non-season versions.
Gotcha. Any other news?
Any
But-
other news? I don't think so.
Trying to think. Hold on, I got some messages from. Let me bring them. Wherever they went.
Here's a question:
But
Are we gonna fix Blood Wraith from the corpse explosion? They don't spawn, or they spawn but they're invisible and don't move.
I didn't know that.
hashtag bug reports.
Yeah, here we go.
I just found out about it right like at this very moment. So.
Which one was it?
It's a corpse explosion specialization point, Blood Wraith. It'll spawn, but it's invisible and doesn't move, but it still attacks stuff. It's kind of weird.
All right, so some notes from Judd. We're about to go into some intense roadmap planning to make sure we are hitting our target deadlines. We're focused on getting the alpha out, upgrading the tech, making new levels, creating new mastery system, getting the launcher and patcher working with the website. And exclusive for this would be that we're looking into a new forum solution where it is a bit more elegant, and then the badges would carry along other posts. I know that the system that Blizzard / Overwatch and everything uses for forums is kind of what they're leaning towards as far as ease. I know that it's the overall goal is to make it easier forum wise. I believe. Don't quote me. And yeah, that's all I got from Fed right now. So I don't
That's
know
not
if you.
game stuff. That's boring.
Yeah, I know. Hey, I'm just telling you what I got, okay?
John, bring interesting stuff next time. So that's my note.
He's gone.
Damn it. Cool.
So I'm gonna go ahead and start with open floor. We have 2 questions already. Mike, are there plans to have buff spells auto update to themselves when you level them up instead of having to recast them, essentially?
Sorry,
Receive
say
their update.
it again.
So let's take, for instance, whenever you update a skill, right? So you put a point into a certain node, and I'm guessing this is main. So let me just reread it. Are there plans to buff spells auto update themselves when you level them up instead of having them turn off and turn back on to receive their update?
Yes.
I'll give an example.
I know exactly what you mean. Yeah.
Okay. Cool.
We'd love to have that in. We have no short-term plans for that. It's I would say a low priority thing, but it would be ideal to have in, and we would like to do it. Yes.
And then relook at the ward retention formula. I'm dangerously close to having complete retention so that my ward won't decay at all and can have Ice Ward infinitely generate ward for me. Winfox, if you can go ahead and message me that build.
Yeah, that's a problem.
it's I don't think that's actually a problem because he's probably talking about very low levels of ward retention, right? Because the way the formula is, the more ward you have, the faster it decays. From my understanding, I'm not a math major or anything.
Yes, you're absolutely right.
So like if you have permanent so-called 500 ward, it's whatever. I don't think it's a balance concern. But if you have like 2,000 to 3,000 ward, like you can generate with the third eye, I think that's the ring's name. What's it called? Ring of the whatever. Then yeah, it might become a problem if you can keep that permanently. But I mean, I don't like I've messed around myself with ward retention, and those kind of ways of generating it, and you can never like really maintain more than like 400, 500, 600 ward ish, if even that.
Yeah, and so the thing I would say to that is we'll never have it be so that you can have that your ward retention or the reduced ward decay rate stat will never reduce your ward decay to 0. So your ward decay percentage, like the ward decays as a percentage of your total current ward. So that's why as the more you have, the faster it decays. That stat of reducing the rate that it decays at will never go to the point where it decays at a rate of 0. So it'll always decay at some percentage, which means that it'll always be difficult to keep up. And there's an opportunity cost of having that. So yeah, it might be a really powerful stat, it might be really good, but the opportunity cost of that is that all of a sudden maybe you don't have as much armor or elemental protection, and you're just taking huge hits to lose a lot of that ward anyways. Or you're taking reduced damage. So there are opportunity costs that go with it. We will make sure that ward is not something that you can 100% of the time persist a ton of without a very large opportunity cost to it.
Or I just make my unique item retain all ward with no decay.
Oh yeah, you still have it unique.
No, I'll play.
Yeah.
I plan on doing it tonight, maybe like during the stream. So I guess we'll see. Like at least start some theory crafting of what. Because I know that I have Mitch who's supposed to send me some restraints. I don't know if Mike, if you could too, as far as like what I can and what I can't do. I know that Ziggy started his, and Mike was on the call with him, or Mitch was it Mitch or was it you, Mike? Yeah, and I know that he was on the call saying like, hey, like we can't do that. That's just ridiculously overpowered. So I mean, I would like some feedback.
Yeah. So there's certain things that like there are certain things that we are really avoiding having. For example, items that are just like, oh, you generate 20% of your maximum mana over every second or something like that. Like huge mana returns or huge maximum mana boosts would need to have extremely large drawbacks that go with them. So there's certain stats like that, and I mentioned earlier about ward retention that are not going to be available in mass quantities And yes, unique items is where they will appear more frequently than anywhere else. So depending on if there's another drawback that goes with it, or if they're not super, super extreme cases, it's possible that it could be put in. I don't have that full list off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
You should make a unique wand, Behemoth. There aren't any right now.
Yeah, I've got a few ideas that I've made some documents on. All right, so to
I
push.
mean, like if something's just overpowered, we'll be like, well, okay, we got to tone that down or something like that. And because it is really early that they're being made, they could get buffed or nerfed as
Yeah.
development goes forward, anyways. And
Leroy
if
is-
you're making your own unique, it would be consulted with you how we're changing that when we're changing it.
Right. Leroy's already said no to a few of mine. Go figure. Any word on Paladin? All right, so I can pretty much answer this one because I've already asked about 40 different times or been asked. So all of the third strains of all the mastery classes are currently being in work. So Paladin, Rune Master, it's not Lich. What's the one?
Warlock.
Warlock. What else am I missing?
Druid.
Not Shaman, not Beastmaster.
Druid.
Druid.
Yeah, he said Druid. Yeah.
So those are all currently still in work as far as the masteries go.
Yes.
Arts goes, maybe Lich should focus on a ghost theme, where Necro is more focused on a bone and skeletal theme.
Yes.
Yes, that's already the goal. It's just not
Yes.
put into play yet.
Yes.
Then Sheng, will sorcerers ever get easier access to ward changes to Spellblade's current percentage chance ward on kill? Not a fan of abusing Ring of the Third Eyes. I think it's gonna be Rune Master, isn't it? As far as the ward goes, or I don't know.
So here's the thing: because the Spellblade is a melee class, they're going to be typically taking a lot more damage than the mage. So they will have better ward options than the mage. Straight up, they just will always.
So-
Mage will have more ward options than it has now. Yeah.
Personally, I'm not a big fan of a lot of the word options, especially the late in the tree being tied to kills. Because if you're fighting a boss, those are not relevant. And
That's a really good point.
yeah, I'm in general, I find that the game has just a little too many effects that are tied on kills or tied to kills. Those
Part of
are
that is it's a really
never-
easy thing for us to detect.
Yeah, I know,
Mhm.
I know how it works, and I feel like you should be looking for more newer conditions for things to trigger.
And I know I was gonna say something about that, and I completely forgot. What was
Well, I
I
have
gonna
something
say?
then.
Simple.
All right. Chance to receive a cleansing blow. Do you think it's good to have a stat in the game that when you have 5 items with the T5 roll, which is you have like 11 items, each of them can have like 4 stats. So we're talking about like 10% of your gear stats to completely halve all damage except dots. Do you think it's like that's what it is right now? Previously it was 4 items before it got a stat number nerf, but you think it should have maybe like a base and then you increase it with percentage instead of just flat? Because right now, I mean, if you do the calculations, having like 2 items with the 5 mono, it's like 40%.
Yeah, I
Chance
think it's
to-
too strong
yeah.
right now.
Yeah, it's still, I think it's still like incredibly strong.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. Like I would suspect. Don't quote me on this, but I think it'll probably get split off. As right now, it's an adds stat instead of an increased stat, and it'll probably get turned into an increased stat. I think.
So then you would have like a base or something.
Yeah. You'd have a
Okay.
base and then a like a 5% base or something like that, and then you get an item that's like increased by 100% is only actually giving you 5%.
Doesn't it just become a weird, like, pseudo block or pseudo dodge? At
Yeah.
this point?
It does.
Overlaps.
It may also just be that we may leave it the way it is and just drop the numbers more.
Yeah. Oh,
Or at a hard cap maybe.
Yeah, or have a hard cap on it. Yeah. We're really trying to avoid having hard caps on things. But that's not saying we'll never do it or anything like that. We're just avoiding it.
What
Just
I
as a
what,
spawn. Yeah. Go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, what I would personally like on that on a stat like that is that you have the chance, and then you could increase the strength of it. So let's say it starts with 10, you take 10% less, and then you could up it further. So
Yeah.
then you have the chat. Then you have to scale like multiple different things for it. First the chance, and then the effectiveness.
Yeah,
Kinda
it's
like-
like block
kinda
and
like you
block
have-
armor.
Yeah, and like shock and everything like that. Because right now it's just like you just gotta take less damage.
Yeah, it might as well just become like a % damage reduction, right?
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean
or-
it basically is that right
Yeah,
now for hits.
in practice, that's what it is. Yeah.
So my question that I just now remembered, going back to the energy shield, Carved, you can finally do your melee Machinist Spellblade. What'd you say the other day? You got reach like level 50 without dying or something like that? While you were
That's impressive.
No, that was okay. There's this one mob, the ice mob. I call it Ratini for obvious reasons,
Yeah.
but I think it's called like Frostburn or something like that.
I call
And
it
it's just like
Snack.
okay, yeah. I want that as a like a minion that like actually like a minion that deals damage, and then and then Lyra was like, okay, you're gonna give me like a huge like report or document for like feedback and all that, and then we'll talk with the team if we can add it. And then it was like, how about we just make a bet if I hit if I can level Spellblade 50 in the
Machinist.
whatever it's called, the
Hardcore masochist.
yeah, how about then you guarantee it? But he never he basically said that he doesn't want to take bets that he'll win, but
Oh. Oh wait,
I-
so wait a minute. That's that sounds like a challenge. I kind of like
yeah,
those.
I have actually, when you're talking about the leaderboards, right?
Mm.
So I was about to say like there's just like one limiting factor right now, and that's just like the memory leak. Like
Yeah.
it's just like my FPS like becomes unbearable at some point.
Yeah.
But there's definitely a way with the Spellblade to but I guess it would play the Spellblade or like a hybrid to complete like just never get any damage, and that's the Mana Strike, I think it's called.
Yeah.
It has the chance to block, not block, the knockback.
Yes.
And the knockback is basically just like teleports mob based on where you had your cursor around the mob. And it was like extremely easy to just like hold. I was like standing in a corner, and I had the cursor in one spot where like, and then I just like knock back in the monster's back, and then just like walk back into it like after like a couple seconds later, and then like knock back again. So you could definitely do some wonky shit with that.
Some
it's
filthy
like
shenanigans.
Yeah, I think it, if it stays like it is now, it should be renamed to like teleport, because right now the knockback is literally just the mob's teleporter all around,
Yeah.
and the distance is pretty huge as well. it
Isn't-
made it unplayable. I had to like respec out of it. It was just like unbearable right now.
Kind of the point.
Isn't Mana Strike bugged right now and gives you like really high stacking mana or something?
The overflow was fixed.
Okay.
Oh,
cool.
was it? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I
Um,
wasn't even on top of that because I didn't play Mana Strike build yet. I had a really good 1 pre-alpha.
If you played the spec into the knockback and go crazy in attack speed and just like see it's actually I tried to like how like targeting is right now, so you can basically like name log a monster, right? So the skill, the actual strike is always hit on like the point of your cursor. So if you're targeting the monster, like a huge monster in size on its head, it's actually like hitting like very far away from it, so you have to like always like target the root. So I had the issue where like if I didn't do that properly, I was sometimes teleporting the mobs right in front of me, and I just go like, oh shit, what is going on? Like I wasn't sure like what's causing it until I like realized it. I was like trying to hit something, but I didn't do any damage. And I was like, wait, how is this working? And then I like went hit it behind it, and it just teleported like these void guys. It's right in front of me, and then just like slapped me. Oh, okay, that's how it works.
There was also a thing with the Mana Strike bug being able to let you get so much, basically as much mana as you want, and then the node in the meteor tree
Yeah.
that just consumes all
Yeah.
your mana.
Oh, yeah.
and scales the damage based on the amount of mana consumed.
Yeah. That's
Alright.
that. I don't see a problem there.
Or giving you, I think it was 5% per point, so up to 15% of your base mana I think it was flat.
As flat lightning, yeah, and then there's
yeah,
another one that gives you
that's
crit.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
why it was so insane.
Yeah, that's busted.
Will Shaman get any kind of mana regen passes for totem builds? I know Carvis had a problem with this too, as they are a bit hard to maintain since they die very easily. Maybe a mana regen per active totem, or we could do like a mana totem.
I mean, that seems like a pretty sweet passive to have in Frenzy Totem.
Yeah, Frenzy
I
Totem.
was about to say that,
Yeah.
or
Okay, all right. Small
Yeah,
minds think alike. Yeah.
yeah, and like something like Healing Wind could have like mana regen on top as a passive or something like that.
Maybe.
That's a lot of options.
Yep. There's so many ways to go about it. Well,
Oh yeah, by the way, speaking of mana regen is just a flat number you have, right? It doesn't scale off based on your mana pool or something like that. 'Cause I remember,
that's right.
yeah. Is that something that is on purpose
Yes.
so that it's extremely hard to scale the mana regen, or
Yeah, so because we're having such a small number of skills with cooldowns, most of the skills, the limiting factor is your mana, which means we have to be very careful with the amount of mana regen and flat mana that we give out in skills, passives, items, all that sort of stuff, buffs.
That's
it's
why-
gonna be a tough balancing act.
Yeah.
yeah, I just remember getting like an item with like a wand with mana regen, and then I was like, oh, okay, so my mana regen went from 10 to 11. Yay! It's like-
yeah.
the numbers are so small that it feels like insignificant.
I know, like that's why negative mana was put in place as well to help balance that offset, I believe.
Yeah, it's also to encourage that negative mana was also put in to encourage people to use skills that don't cost mana, because we were noticing that a lot of people were just only using skills that were just like, what's my most efficient damage dealing skill, and that was just the only thing. And then it was that one skill and a bunch of defensive abilities and utility abilities, and that was the whole builds that were happening. And we're trying to encourage.
I do really like the idea of negative mana. In fact, Raging, you should design a wand that does something based on negative mana. That'd be nice. Gain like increased damage based on like 1% per negative mana or something. So you could make a build that like has a really high cost ability that you cast at really low mana, and then you get a big damage boost. Just throwing that out there.
That's
That'd be
cool.
Yeah,
Throwing that
I was
out
about to say that like I'm like, if you really want to min-max your mana usage, you always use the skills with a high mana cost when you're almost like empty, because then you get more regen when it's like on negatives, right? So
Yeah.
you're like spending the big mana cost
Yeah.
at the end so that you get the regen back faster to 0 again.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of
I like
interesting
this.
min-max for gameplay, but in
Yeah.
practice, it's sometimes kind of wonky.
I like the system. I like the idea.
And I know Ziggy's item might influence your potion as well, so it might change like the effects of your potion. That was mentioned as well. I
Oh
don't know-
yeah, that's actually one thing. I want, if I were to make a unique, I would make a unique that would add some kind of mana return to
potion?
like yeah, that would 100% be it right now, at least right, or like how the game is right now.
Your potions no longer heal you. Your potions give you mana.
Yeah, and then I would go like ham on the potion scaling refills and everything.
All right. Does anybody have any last minute questions? I'm gonna try to wrap this up a little bit. We're already almost at 2 hours. So if anybody in chat or if any of you guys have any questions while we wrap this up, feel free to ask now.
Carve, did you reach level 100?
No, I haven't been playing.
Oh, you haven't been playing. Oh, I was being efficient. I was playing and talking.
Ooh.
I'm a guy. My brain can only do one thing at a time.
Oh, okay, all right.
No,
I see how it is.
I was trying to read the chat instead.
Yeah, chat wasn't all that busy though. But yeah. Cool. No, nothing
Casey,
here.
I have
Just,
a question. Why is this game so good?
Because we're awesome. That's it.
That's it, huh?
Yeah.
I actually had a
Oh.
question. I think I brought that up. I have an actual question. So my actual profession is I'm a professional translator.
Cool.
So I could do some stuff with localization.
We will absolutely be looking to our community for help with localization when we start doing that. We've
Great.
been building the chess system we've been working with. Has localization prepared for it. Like the dialogues manager, so the text that shows up on your screen for when someone's talking to you. We're preparing for localization with that already, and we will absolutely be reaching out to our community at some point, probably during the beta. I'm gonna guess.
Nice.
For localization, but yes, that is. So keep an eye out, and there will be an announcement at some point that's like, we need help translating.
Yeah.
Cool.
Because the best people to do that are the people that know what it's supposed to say. Like, and just sending that off to a company that's like, we've never played this game before, so we don't know what you're trying to communicate.
Yeah, it's funny. I have experiences with that because I've translated games before.
Yeah.
Among other things, it's more fun than government documents. Doesn't pay as much though. But I had this company, right? They had me translate their game, and at some point they're like, yeah, we need some more. I was busy, and they're like, yeah, we asked like an outside agency to help us out, but like they never played our game and they never translated game before, so they didn't know what the fuck we're talking about. So they kept translating everything like all wrong or in ways that didn't make any goddamn sense. It's like, if you're gonna translate your game, why don't you get like an ex-professional gamer that spends like 16 hours a day playing alpha games?
Seems logical to me.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
There currently is no time frame when it's been brought up multiple times, so that's why I use the emote. Hopefully soon, but I guess we'll see. My question, for those of us who actually played the demo, the Frostworm used to be poison before it was moved to ice, because we moved it to ice because poison legitimately destroyed everything that you would throw at it. Your minions would die before they even got a chance to swing at it. Are we going to do multiple variants of the Frostworm? So Frostworm, Poison Worm, Fireworm. Like, will we see different elemental mobs that change throughout either the timeline or zone or something along those lines?
Yes.
Yes.
That's like a really basic answer, but yeah, you covered it really well. There will be mobs that have thematic changes like that. Maybe they get corrupted into something, and it's like, maybe it's not a simple element change or something like that. But there will be variants of different mobs.
Good.
Yeah, like the really basic example of that is like you look at Diablo 2 and the first thing you're fighting are those
Fallen.
Yeah, the Fallen, and they turn into like Devilkins later, and they turn into
Fallen, Carver, Devilkin, Dark Ones, Fanatic Ones.
Yeah, there you go.
That's why you get this guy to translate your game, by the way.
I don't know if we'll have like that many variants on like every single mob, but it will happen from time to time when it's useful and appropriate and fun.
Yeah. Last comment. I don't think does anybody have anything else before I wrap it up, or no? Because I still want to save some topics for our next stream, September 8th, by the way. So mark it in your calendars if you do. I guys want to swing by. September 8th is the next one. Any last questions? I'm not trying to rush this, but it's already 2 hours and my kid's freaking out at my door. So,
No, I think we're good.
okay. Last statement. Seth is begging for a Kiwi pet. Mike, I'm just going to throw that out there. He is literally begging, and so is his chat. So I don't know. MTX Pets down the road throwing a Kiwi for him. I don't know.
We'll have lots of time to make a lot of different pets, and I'm sure we'll find time to make something for everyone. I have no control over that right now.
I know. Could you imagine like a horde of like tiny like little kiwi birds following behind you, like a legitimate like horde, like swarm?
It sounds awesome.
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and call it there. Thanks everybody for swinging by. It's about time. I'm your host, Raging. Carve. How do you say your name?
Karvarosku.
Okay, so I'm just gonna say Carve. I'm just gonna end it at that. Oxygen, and then Mike. Tune in. September 8th will be our next stream. I still need to find some more co-hosts. I've already got a few planned out. Hope to see everybody there. I appreciate it, and I will catch you guys next time.
Thanks for having me. Bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thanks.
Have a
Bye
good one.
bye.